It's all yours, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you all for viewing tonight's Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at the City of Clearlake Chambers on January 25th, 2022. As a reminder, if you are on our Zoom meeting as a participant, please put yourself on mute unless you are speaking. We are currently live streaming this meeting on the city's YouTube channel and the Lake County PEG TV live stream YouTube channel. To begin, can I please have roll?
Commissioner Stewart,
Present.
Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Chair Wilson,
Present.
Vice Chair Coker, Commissioner McCarrick,
Present. Thank you. We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Those present, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Commissioner Stewart, will you please lead the chambers in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We now have the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair, no changes.
Thank you. We now have public comment. This is the time for any member of the public to address the Planning Commission on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the commission or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The commission cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on the next available agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Are there any public comments in the chambers?
there are none.
Any by phone or by Zoom?
There are none.
Thank you. We will go on the agenda to business. Item number 1 is a conditional use permit. CUP 2021-33 categorical exemption, CE 2021-12 to allow alcoholic beverage sales on-site consumption in an existing established restaurant located at 14094 Lakeshore Drive, Clearlake, California 95422. Staff, would you like to report?
Yes, this is Mike Taylor, Assistant Planner, City of Clearlake, and this is for CUP 2021-33 and CE 2021-12. The applicant, Elizabeth Vargas, DBA Delicious Alvarez, that's actually the name of the restaurant, has provided an application for your consideration for alcoholic beverages sales for on-site consumption located at 1494 Lakeshore Drive, APN number 040-03306. So the map you see up on the screen there is just the location. On the left side is a map with the yellow dot. That's the approximate location of the operation and the facility. On the right is a blow-up of that area. As you can see on there, it's surrounded by a thin blue line. That is the site. The actual existing structure, which was actually built in 1958, is up front and adjacent the street parking there. And back behind is the actual on-site parking. I think I mentioned that the actual existing structure was built in 1958, and it's approximately 1,124 square feet. Oops. Project summary. Alcohol beverage sales on-site consumption land use pursuant to section 18-18.030 commercial recreation and amusement uses allowed by zones. This is addressed in Table 5 of the zoning ordinance. The property is an existing single-tenant commercial space, and as I mentioned, it's approximately 1,124 square feet. All alcoholic beverages sales will be performed on-site as per that previous mentioned zoning ordinance. The applicant is currently in application with the Alcoholic Beverage Control for a Type 47 license, which includes beer, wine, and distilled spirits, basically all types of alcoholic beverages. And it will be for purchase in addition to the food items that the owner is proposing for purchase. At this time, no cocktail lounge or bar is proposed by the applicant. The hours of operation, and I might mention that the applicant has proposed an operation hours of 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. However, the city police department was concerned with the restaurant being open that late for security purposes. So they conditioned, the city and planning conditioned the operation to be open from Monday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Recently, the applicant has requested consideration for extended hours up to 2 a.m. on the weekends. However, it is still the city's position that we keep the Monday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The applicant anticipates 6 employees at this time for the operation. This is a map of the zoning. The project, as described earlier, is zoned downtown commercial. Also, you can see it's the yellow dot there, the location of the operation. Also, you can see the other types of zones that surround. There's medium density residential to the right, and up at the top is, which park is that? Austin Park. And then, City Hall is just above that. That's Olympic Drive, the dark black line that's coming in and tying in with Lakeshore Drive. Okay. So a couple of conditions that are specific to this project. Other conditions are general in nature in the conditions of approval. If you want to, you may refer to those conditions there, but 2 conditions. Item 2, which is the hours of operation, which was previously discussed. We are conditioning the project to operate from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Sunday. Item 16, I would like to defer to Mark Roberts, the senior planner, to explain that particular condition.
Thank you, Mike. So typically for operations, we require the installation of curb, gutter, and sidewalk prior to operation. However, for the future development it's the commercial downtown corridor, so the city has plans to improve that area. So this would be the only time that we would allow this option here is in that downtown corridor for curb, gutter, and sidewalk. So instead of installing it, it'd be in lieu of installing curb, gutter, and sidewalk improvements as normally required. The applicant shall pay a fee to the city equal to the cost of installing the improvements to the city standards. This is in recognition of the project's location within the area of the city project, including road and pedestrian improvements to the Lakeshore Drive. The cost shall be determined by a qualified professional at the expense of the applicant with the final approval by the city engineer. And this will have to be completed prior to this use permit having any force or effect. So this is the only time this condition would come into play would be during this corridor. The other times it'd be as is normal as prior to operation.
If I could jump back to item number 2, I just want to clarify for the commission. The applicant actually asked for hours of operation to 2 a.m. But our recommendation is to not allow any later than 11 p.m. based on input from the police department and their concerns about a restaurant really needing to operate that late. And staffing issues at night and so forth. So just want to clarify for the commission that the applicant is asking for hours of operation to 2 a.m. and our recommendation is to allow them to operate until 11 p.m.
Thank you. I just wanted to back up a bit. This thing's not working here. Environmental analysis, we kind of skipped over that one prior to getting to the conditions, but this project is, the staff has determined is category exempt per Environmental Quality Act, per Section 15301 for existing facilities. At this time, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the CUP 2021-33 and categorical exemption CE 2021-12. You can view the other options in the resolution PC 2022-07, which is attachment 1. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any questions of staff on this item. Commissioner McCarrick?
Thank you, Chair Wilson. I just have 2 questions. Just curiosity's sake, if they wanted to change their hours again, does that go through the Planning Commission or is that a city? It has no bearing on my decision. I was just curious. And then the second question is just clarification on the curb gutter sidewalk. They are getting the engineer to do the estimate, the cost estimate, or is it a city engineer doing the cost estimate?
Okay, so the first question, yeah, if it's a condition that's approved by the Planning Commission, it would take the Planning Commission to change that. And then related to the curb gutter and sidewalk, yeah, we would place it on the applicant to have a qualified professional that would then be, and then that estimate would be reviewed by and approved by the city engineer to make sure that it's, you know, covering everything to the city standard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stewart?
I'm concerned about item 16. In lieu of what the applicant's looking to do here, which is simply be able to provide some cocktails with dinner, I think that making them pony up enough money for curb gutter and sidewalk improvements someday is onerous and, in my opinion, out of line. I don't think they should be made to do that. If they were triggering or doing some sort of major renovation there, which is the way the city used to do stuff, which was if you were gonna do a major remodel or do $10,000 worth of work or something like that, then it was part of the deal that you would do curb gutter and sidewalk. But for these small-time restaurant operators, I mean, you know, we could ask staff, I don't know how many feet of frontage these guys have, but I'm guessing it's over 50 feet. That's gonna be a rather large sum of money so they can sell a few cocktails with dinner. So I'm completely in favor of these guys getting their license. I'm not in favor of number 16 being a condition of them getting it.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart. Do you have a question in there? Just
No.
comment. Do you have a question? Just
No,
that,
no questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams?
I have no additional questions at this time. Staff was able to answer my questions prior to this evening. I do have a comment, though, that for a restaurant, 11 p.m. seems reasonable to me. This isn't a bar. I'm not for it being opened until 2 a.m.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams, and welcome, Commissioner Coker.
Thank you.
I do not have any comments at this time. I will open the public hearing on this matter. Are there any public comments on this agenda item? Is there anybody in the chambers that wishes to speak on this item?
We have one.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Alice Reese, and I really appreciate the fact that you determined that they really needed to cut down on their time. With the new laws that came into effect of this month, this year, these restaurants are allowed to sell cocktails to go. And I think that could be really detrimental with alcohol being taken with only one person having to pick up and show an ID. Who are they giving it to? They can get 2 cocktails per person, per meal, I mean. And what is a substantial meal? You know, is it just, you know, some snacks, or does it have to be a full meal? I don't think that was ever designated in the ABC law. So, and I was also really concerned about the hours, but if the hours could even be less than 11 o'clock, I live on Pearl Avenue, which is a residential area. And having traffic going back and forth that late at night is very disturbing to kids and adults and whatnot. So I think it could even be like 10 o'clock would be sufficient for a restaurant, I would think. And it is a small restaurant, so I don't think it's like they're going to have a lot of people there, but it would be enough that it would be disturbing in the neighborhood. And also, I was also concerned about the parking. Now, you've probably been here as long as I have. I've been here almost 40 years. So that restaurant was originally a bar that got shut down because of all the vandalism and bad things that happened. So just that, I'm losing my voice, sorry. So I think that it would be really, I think that the packet had 13 parking spaces in the back. That building was originally just at, I think, 1,100 square feet, and they had since closed the alleyway and put in a tent for outside seating. So any traffic that comes to park, other than the 3 or 4 spaces that are in the front on Lakeshore, have to come down Pearl Avenue. It's a lot of traffic on my road, more than is necessary. And I don't know why they were ever allowed to close that alleyway for parking in the back. I don't know, but that's the way it is. But I was concerned about that. And I was also concerned because it is, you know, beer, wine, and spirits, that what is the impact in the community for having that much more liquor available, and especially in our area. We have Main Street Cafe that has the same type of a license. There's a liquor store across the street. There's a grocery store that also sells beer and wine and spirits as well, all within like a block or so of that restaurant. And I think that's kind of impacting our area quite a bit. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments online or on the phone?
There are none.
Have we received any written comments?
We have not.
Thank you. The public hearing on this item is now closed. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any further comments for deliberation at this time. Commissioner McCarrick?
Thank you, Chair Wilson. I do have a question brought up by Commissioner Stewart. I was excited about the prospect of there being the ability for a business to do a monetary contribution for curb, gutter, sidewalk. But he reminded me that it usually is triggered by a $10,000 capital improvement or structural improvement, correct? So I guess I'm asking for clarification on staff from what triggers the curb, gutter, sidewalk clause.
Yeah, if I could address that, Ms. Wilson?
Yes, please.
So Practice has been that there's two different triggers. One is planning commission approval, always requires curb, gutter, and sidewalk improvements to be done. And then the other, the $10,000 one is a municipal code thing, and that's kind of focused on improvements related to a building permit that don't require the discretion of the planning commission. And so there's been sort of two different thresholds that have been applied in history. So if, in some ways it would be a fairly significant departure from prior practice. So, certainly that could be done, but, there's often few opportunities to try to get that public infrastructure installed, and this is one way that it's historically been done.
Thank you, Mr. Flora. Commissioner Stewart, do you have any comments or questions for deliberation at this time?
Well, the member of the public's raised some interesting questions in my mind about this whole thing, and taking into account the number of places in the immediate vicinity to obtain alcoholic beverages. Initially, I have to say that I wasn't against this permit. However, I'm kind of rethinking this thing at this point and taking into account the local neighbors' concerns. And is it permissible for me to ask the local neighbors some questions here? Ma'am, could you please step back up? So, you've heard what I've been saying here, and I guess my question is, at this point, by your observation as a nearby neighbor, how late is this place normally open now? And also, I've observed just in my own going by that there's usually, with this particular business, there's a significant portion of time every year, usually around December, January, that although they're actually open now, that I've noticed in the past, they've been closed for anywhere from a month to one time, 2 or 3 months they were closed. But my big question is, during their normal course of business that you've observed now, whatever time they normally serve to, have you noticed any particular problems emanating from their parking onto Pearl Street, or any particular problems that are associated with this business? Because it's kind of my opinion that really depends a lot on who's running the business and how they run it. Catfish Max was a notorious dive bar forever. And yeah, it's really not surprising that there was a lot of problems emanating from there. But, I do want to take your concerns into consideration here before I make a decision, but I'm curious about specific impacts from this existing business.
Well, it's been rather erratic. Sometimes there's been a lot of traffic and people sitting in their cars playing music and stuff very late at night. And other times it's been very calm. But there is a lot of traffic in and out. I don't know. They also have, I don't know who puts it on, but it's some kind of a food giveaway every week or something, but that's always usually in the mornings. But a lot of people linger, so, but at night, on the weekends, usually, many weekends, there'll be people just parked in the parking lot there, playing music.
Even when the business is not open?
Yes, I'm assuming that it's closed because they're just sitting in there, you just hear the music from the cars.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they would be inside doing that, so I'm assuming they're just using the parking lot. But I don't know why they would feel they could use the parking lot unless the owners.
Have you noticed a similar problem at the market down the street with the parking on the backside there?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not always, but there are occasions when it's pretty loud and racing up and down the street occasionally,
Sure.
not often. But just with a liquor license, people are doing that to make a profit. So they're obviously going to have a lot more business in order to do that, or they wouldn't apply and pay for that license.
Well, you know, really, the application fee and so on for that license is pretty nominal. And I don't know, it's my opinion, in talking to local bar owners that I know personally, that, the way it used to be was you made money off the booze and the restaurant was just there for people to eat while they were in there boozing it up. And now it's the other way around. The restaurant carries the liquor. The liquor end of it, in virtually every bar that I know the owner of, the liquor end of it really is a very small portion of their income, because the culture in this country has changed, and the drinking habits of years past are not there anymore. So, but I do understand your concerns, and I do understand that, the majority of patrons in this restaurant may be from a culture that's different from, long-time historical perspective that older people like you and I might be used to. So there might be some cultural differences that contribute to the situations that you're talking about. I'm just, at this point, I'm not quite sure if that's quite enough reason to deny this permit.
Okay.
But thank you for your input.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate that booze does make a difference in the profitability of any restaurant. And I have 2 relatives that have restaurants with full liquor license in Southern California, and they make a lot of money off their booze. It's like about 51% of the total profit of the premises. So it does make a difference.
Thank you. And then I have a question for staff, if that's all right. So, is it possible at this point to, and not referring to item 16, the curb, gutter, and sidewalks, I'm curious if it's possible to put some more conditions in here about when the business closes, that they have some sort of even if it's a chain across a couple of poles, that their parking lot is locked up at night to where they're limiting how many people can stay in there half the night blasting music out. I'm also curious if our use permit supersedes state law about the booze to go, or does state law supersede us?
Well, for the first one, I mean, I think you could put something in about asking them to secure the parking lot, perhaps, and off business hours. I mean, I'm not sure how effective we're going to be in enforcing that, but I mean, you could put it in there and give it a whirl. As far as the other one, I guess, can you be a little bit more specific on what you're talking about? You're talking about the new state law related to delivery of certain cocktails or something?
Correct. The neighbor mentioned that there's been a change to state law allowing people to take 2, if they get a dinner to go, they can get 2 cocktails to go with it. And our use permit says it's only for consumption on premises. So which supersedes here, state or us?
I don't know if I can 100% answer that. I mean, I'm not sure that the Bureau of Alcohol, ABC, if their licensing is even caught up with that state law or not. If any of your discussions with them has addressed that. I mean, normally you can't do anything that would restrict that. I mean, just like a lot of our housing regulations, the state law, they put it into place, and it doesn't matter what our setbacks are anymore because the state's overridden that. So, that's not very much clarity, but without, having our city attorney look into it a little bit more. I mean, I would expect that probably if you put a condition in saying that that's prohibited, taking 2 cocktails with you, and they can get a permit through ABC to do it, that we probably wouldn't be able to enforce ours, but I don't 100% know.
I think that makes perfect sense, actually. So that's all the comment I have for the moment, but I will have some more comment before we decide to approve this, because I do want to insert that other condition about securing the parking lot.
This is the time to do that, Chairman, Commissioner Stewart. We're doing the round robin with the commissioners right now.
Thank you. That would be my suggestion, that we insert another condition in there, that the parking be secured in the hours that the restaurant is not open to the public.
Commissioner Wilson?
I don't know how to manage that. Do we have to go around and ask the other commissioners what their thought is about that?
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of up to you, or you can just rely on whoever makes a motion, whether they want to include that and see how it works out that way. Or you could try to poll the other commissioners and see if they're supportive of adding that.
Okay, Commissioner Stewart, I will come back to that topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams, do you have any comments in our final round here?
Yeah, my comment on item number 16 is, if we start waiving it for one business, are we setting a precedence that someone else can come in and want to change something in their business and they can fight it? So that would be my concern with waiving the fee for them. And then my question, the monies that they pay just go into the fund that will be used to do the improvements, correct?
Yeah, so, I mean, this is a little bit of a special circumstance, just because we are actively moving forward on doing design for corridor improvements there. The request for proposals for the design work's out right now. And so because we have a planned project, I mean, we really don't want anyone installing curb, gutter, and sidewalk right now, because it may not be consistent with other stuff that we're doing. You know, the basic city standard just has the curb, gutter, and sidewalk, and, you know, our plan for this project would include, you know, street trees and lighting and all that other stuff that you kind of like to see in a nice downtown. And so they wouldn't be held responsible for that portion of it, just like the basic city standard. And that way, we would just set up a special fund. We take their, you know, 15,000 or whatever it is, put it in that fund, and then we would just put it towards the project cost.
Commissioner McCarrick, I see your hand. I'd like to call on Commissioner Coker, who's heard some of the comments, and give you an opportunity to ask questions or make comments.
Yes, I don't have anything as of now.
Thank you, Commissioner Coker. Commissioner McCarrick, you have your hand up.
Yeah, that was just it was a quick, to my previous statement was, just a side note, not a condition of approval or anything like that, but as we do look at these curb gutter sidewalks, which, yeah, I support the ability to do that, but maybe just for staff to look at some sort of combining effort, so maybe the funds that they could put in could go to one architect or one engineer doing the plan, so it's not like 10 businesses duplicating efforts. Just a thought, and I wanted to get it out there.
Thank you, Commissioner McCarrick. I do not have any questions at this time for staff. And so we're at the stage now to entertain a motion. And we have 3 options prepared by staff. And I'm hearing from Commissioner Stewart that he might want to offer a separate and different motion. So I will entertain a motion to move forward in whatever way this commission deems appropriate.
I would like to make a motion that we adopt the use permit as presented by staff, with one addition, that we require that the rear parking lot be secured to the public when the business is not open to the public.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Commissioner McCarrick has seconded. May I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Stewart,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Coker,
Aye.
Chair Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCarrick.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. Item number 2, conditional use permit, CUP 2021-34, categorical exception, CE 2021-13, to allow to establish an online wholesaler and retail automobile sales operation pursuant to Table 5. Staff, will you please report?
So good evening, everybody. This is Senior Planner Mark Roberts. So we're here tonight to hear about USA Vehicle Locator LLC. It's for an online retail and wholesale vehicles. It's located at 14585 Olympic Drive in Suite A on APN 039164-41. So this is just more of a zoning map to kind of show you the location of the zoning. It's located in general commercial. You can see where the V comes to a point, kind of like the triangle at the top is the location of the parcel. In the bottom right-hand corner, the parcel is highlighted in red, and then to the right is just the area that's on the Olympic Drive, more of the downtown, general commercial corridor. So we skipped one of the slides, so I'll summarize that verbally. So more on the project summary. So as previously mentioned, this is for an online wholesaler and retail automobile sales operation pursuant to Table 5 of the zoning ordinance. It's commercial, recreation, and amusement uses. So the applicant is currently leasing approximately 650 square feet of office space in Suite A. So essentially all vehicles that are wholesale and retail sales will occur online. So the operation works essentially, it's either going to contact the owner or an employee. The potential buyer will explain what type of vehicle they're looking for. The employee or owner will then do their research and come up with potential solutions or options for that prospective buyer. So once they found a vehicle, they can prepare the paperwork. We'll let the buyer know, and then they can either come and inspect the vehicle on site or have it delivered to them to their location. So the hours of operation would be Monday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So for environmental analysis, since it's within the existing facility, staff has made the determination that the project is category exempt, and that's CE 2021-13 from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15301 of existing facilities. So for the conditions of approval, you can refer to Attachment 1 as part of Resolution PC 2022-06. So there's multiple conditions of approval. A lot of them are generic that they hear, the general applicable regulations, prior to operation, they obtain everything they need to from the Department of Motor Vehicles. The applicant has been coordinating with the Department of Motor Vehicles this entire time, that they obtain any building permits, that they meet ADA requirements. The standard condition of approval is in there for curb, gutter, and sidewalk. However, there's already curb, gutter, and sidewalk existing at this location. So for recommendations, staff recommends to adopt Resolution PC 2022-06, approving conditional use permit application, CUP 2021-34, and categorical exemption, CE 2021-13. That concludes my presentation. The applicant, Tom Ely, is here tonight for any questions, or he may have a short statement if he'd like to present as well.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. I'll open the public hearing on this matter and invite the proprietor to the podium if you would so choose.
Commissioner and staff, So I've been here for 31 years. I'm a vet. I've been in the industry for 12 years. The way that automobiles these days are being sold is from your couch or online because of the epidemic. I don't want a lot. Basically, I want to have the customer qualified. I already have a wholesale license. I already have a security bond, sales tax permit. So I am licensed in that category right now. But basically, once that they contact me, I find 2 cars. I do get them reconditioned, get them financed first, and to get them reconditioned. Then the vehicle is drivable to their home, and they do the DocuSign. Then I move to the next. Amy.
Mr. Ely, thank you for coming in and appreciate you more or less starting a new business in town.
Thank you, sir.
It's a great idea, and I'm 100% in favor of your business. And I am familiar with the building. I've been by there many times. Of course, since I live on Olympic Drive, and I go down there every day. But
Okay.
But also, I do business with the water company at the other end of the building there, So after I got this packet the other day, I did kind of go down there and eyeball things, and of course, you and the water company are the only people in there right now. So there isn't really any parking issue, but it did speak to the boss at the water company, and he mentioned to me that the side the water company's on is actually on a different street number than your building.
Oh, wow.
His is 14095, and I believe yours is 14085. Or it may be vice versa. But anyway, the only area of even minimal concern that I have here would be that if your business really started booming and suddenly you had, you were selling 6 cars at a time and there were other tenants in there. Right now, there is nobody, plus the water company office is closed to the public. So there's never anybody trying to get inside the water company office. Although the manager of that company did mention that he would prefer to see any parking associated with your business be on your half of the building.
Yes, sir.
Which isn't a big deal now because there's nobody in there, but hopefully business climate would change or whatever, and there would be somebody in there at some point, or maybe you would even occupy one of the larger spaces if your business grew. Who knows? But I do have a slight concern that the parking situation, depending on how many employees you might end up with, you've got a couple of parking spots down at the end of the building, and then, I don't know, you've got maybe another 8 or so in front. But if there were other tenants in there, somebody's, people that are working in the other ones might need a place to park too. So I have a little bit of concern about that. But I must say that I'm inclined to approve your request simply because I think that any issues with parking ultimately can be resolved between you and your landlord and any other tenants.
Yes, sir.
Without us being involved in it.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Healy.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments in the chambers?
We have one.
Please come to the podium.
Good evening. Yeah, I just had a question, because when I read the packet, it said that it was in a multi-unit space. And if the owner of the car business hires another person and he only has 2 parking spaces that are for his business, where would they park? And parking was a real big issue to me. He also said in his letter to the commission that he would bring the cars there for reconditioning and that people would have to come there to test drive cars and stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean that the cars that he brings there are going to be sold if they're test driving a car before they buy it. So I just had some questions like that to be clarified.
Mr. Healy, could you come back to the podium?
Yes.
Address that question, please. Thank you.
So generally, the way that it works is that when somebody contacts me, being the fact that it's strictly online, I will find 2 cars for them. The car will either be purchased from another dealer or from an auction. The car, only time that the car will be there is delivery to the customer. This is an online sales. There's not gonna be any type of mechanical work there. There's not gonna be any type of mechanical parts there at all. This is strictly online, like Carvana, Shift, Zoom.
Mr. Healy, do you have other off-site space where you will be storing cars that might be coming through your pipeline?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have any comments on the phone or in the Zoom?
There are none.
Do we have any written comments on this item?
We do not.
Thank you. I'll now close public hearing on this item, and I will now ask each commissioner if there are any further comments for deliberation. On slide. Coker?
No, I do not have any. My questions was answered, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner McCarrick?
Thank you, Chair Wilson. Yeah, just similar questions about the car allotment situation, and it looked like in the letter the need to get city approval is due to the DMV requesting, I believe it said unrestricted.
Yes.
The exact words. So just had a little bit of confusion about that, and then also what would be the case if there was a situation where there was a parking dispute? Is that a neighbor thing? Is that a planning commission thing? Is that a city thing? Is that an ordinance thing? I mean, code enforcement? Those are my questions. What does unrestricted mean, and what happens if a parking dispute arises?
So to help provide a little clarity of why Mr. Ely had to originally come here, then I'll address the parking issues. So originally we tried to coordinate with him and the DMV to have it as just like a professional office, but as you mentioned, Commissioner, he needs to be recognized as a full-fledged, even though it's completely online, he needs to be recognized as a dealership, that's why we're here getting the conditional use permit. In regards to the parking situation, if additional parking is needed, we can always, add additional parking spaces, or if there was a dispute between tenants and neighbors of the parking lot, they would most likely have to, resolve it amongst themselves, unless we have them label parking spaces per unit, coordinate with the tenants and the landowner and have them do that, but otherwise they'd have to resolve the issues amongst themselves, depending what agreement they have in their lease or the owner's willing to agree to.
Okay, so it says that I understand it has to be designated as a dealership, but when it says unrestricted, is it inherently restricted by the space of the lot? So that's my question,
Okay.
right? So like, if it's a regular physical car dealership, my understanding is the DMV would say you're restricted by, this is your parcel, et cetera. So is it inherently restricted by the fact that there are X amount of parking spots associated with Unit A?
No, it's when they mean restricted is we have to allow them, recognize them as a regular car dealership where he can have cars on site technically, even though he's not going to have any on site. When I was speaking with the DMV, they didn't have any other options or license types at this time for online sales. They only have the option of being recognized as a full-fledged regular car dealership. That's what they mean by unrestricted, from what they explained to me.
So then it's just the planning commission's approval and the use permit conditions, which would further restrict that to like not have on-site sales.
Mr. Fuller, could you repeat that statement, please?
So just to follow up with what Mr. Roberts was saying, so there really isn't a difference with the DMV, but it's these use permit conditions that are recommended that would further restrict this business so that they would not be allowed to have on-site sales, and it's just the the online thing. I mean, if the applicant wanted to do on-site sales, obviously this would not be an adequate location for that type of business. But in this case, with the proposed conditions, we believe it would work fine.
Thank you. I'll continue to Commissioner Stewart. Do you have any questions or further comments on this item?
No questions or comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams?
I have no additional questions or comments. Some of the other commissioners asked the questions that I had, and I got my answers.
Thank you. I have no comments or questions on this item. I will take a motion on item 2.
I move to, adopt, where did it go? I move to adopt resolution PC 2022-06, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Clearlake finding that the location, extent, and purpose of such conveyance in conformance with the City of Clearlake General Plan, use permit 2021-35. I do have to read the very first thing? Sorry.
I think that's okay.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner McCarrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Vice Chair Coker,
Aye.
Chair Wilson.
Aye. Thank you. The motion passes. That concludes our items on our agenda. We will now invite city manager and staff with any reports.
Thank you, Chair Wilson. I have a fairly long list of things I thought you might be interested in. That, well, it shouldn't take too long, but so you're aware that the recent cannabis project that the commission approved was appealed to the city council. There were 2 hearings before the council related to that item, and this was focused on water use in the Burns Valley area. Ultimately, the council unanimously decided to uphold the Planning Commission's decision on that project. There's, I think, 3 more cannabis projects that are working their way through the process currently that are in the same area, so we'll see if we get a similar reaction from the neighborhood. But we are doing a little research and seeing if we can help, I guess, focus some of the folks that are having water issues to some resources that might be able to help. The old Mario's or Silks building was purchased by the Elam tribe a number of years ago. There's been not much communication from the tribe, but some rumblings going on over the past year or so, and they are in the process of petitioning to put that property into trust, which would eliminate pretty much all city oversight of what happens there. Their plan is to build a convenience store and gas station at that location. And so we'll see how that plays out. There's some limited opportunity for the city to provide input on that project. It's something that's of great concern to the neighboring gas stations in that area. In fact, the gas station directly across the street has been working on plans to expand and upgrade their facility, and they have stated that they're simply not going to do that if this project goes forward, because there's no way that the other gas stations are going to be able to compete price-wise, because with that property being in trust, the tribe is not subject to paying tax on the gas. The county approved today moving forward with a property tax auction. I'm not sure the date has been set exactly. I believe it's sometime in May. There's approximately 900 properties, so that will be offered unless some of them are redeemed ahead of time. Pretty sure it's by far the largest sale. that the county's ever had. One frustration with this is we were again offered the opportunity to provide information to the tax collector on recommended parcels to be sold. That was done in a timely manner, and those recommendations were pretty much ignored, it looks like, based on the list. So good thing is there's over 400 parcels in the city that will be offered at auction unless they're redeemed before that time. Unfortunately, we were hoping to be a little more strategic about which ones were offered, but that's not the case this time. Phase 1 for the Burns Valley project is, we're expecting the bids to be in this Thursday, and so that'll include the Mudslinger site, some backbone infrastructure, and phase 1 kind of the public works yard build. This is north of the PG&E yard back there, kind of along Burns Valley Creek. We have grant applications. We have one submitted for phase 2, and we're submitting another one next week for the sports complex and rec center portions of that project. I mentioned earlier the request for proposals for design for Lakeshore Drive is out now, and those will be back within the next, I forget the exact date, next week or two at the most. We have really so many road projects either in progress or in planning phases. There's really kind of too many to mention right now. The airport project is coming along. You may have noticed that the former water park that the city recently purchased back, the demolition of that is underway currently, and it's actually generating a lot of interest from other developers and folks in the community, and just seeing some activity out there, which is good. The city's in escrow on purchase of the storage sheds at 18th Avenue. The need to purchase those in order to realign the road with that intersection. The design work for 18th Avenue and infrastructure is currently underway. And we're planning on breaking ground on that in the spring, and this will be to provide utilities and access to the parcel that the city sold for the Fairfield Inn development. Phase 3 of the development near Starbucks, they are submitting their use permit application, or already did. It was submitted this week or last week?
It was just submitted this week.
So that'll be for actually a gas station and car wash and stuff right there. It'll be north of the Carl's Jr. So that's moving forward. We have quite a few housing projects in the works. There's 3 affordable or mixed income projects. 2 will break ground this year and 1 probably early next year, totaling 264 units. And then there's a 22 lot subdivision in the Burns Valley area on city property that we're expecting the tentative map to be submitted soon. So that would be 22 acre and a quarter lots, probably around 3,000 square foot homes on that. So that's really exciting as well. Cash fire cleanup will be complete in the next couple of weeks, and then we will more actively focus our efforts towards helping those rebuild in that area. Highlands Park, we've applied for 2 grants now for that project, have not been successful in either one of them, and so we're kind of re-looking at that and seeing how we're going to move forward with getting some improvements done there. But 2 improvements to Austin Park that will be happening this spring and summer. There's going to be an aeration system and bubble curtain installed at the Austin Park beach, which we believe will help improve the water quality of that area and make it hopefully usable all year, and definitely through the summer for swimming and other recreation. So we ended up getting some grant funding from state parks to cover the cost of that, about $180,000, and we're hoping to move forward here really soon on installation of that. And then the other project in Austin Park is there's a splash pad that will be going out to bid, or maybe out to bid already, and that should be coming, no, I think it's going out February 3rd. And so that's going to be a pretty cool amenity in the park. It's going to be between the dog park and the basketball courts, and we worked with the Khoi tribe. It's going to be a Native American themed design, which is really cool, and I'm excited about. So that's my report. I don't know if Mr. Roberts has anything to add.
I don't have anything to add at this time. Mr. Flora covered all the items pretty well. Thank you.
Amazing, good work, thank you, Mr. Flora and Mr. Roberts. Do any commissioners have any items to report?
If I could have a slight redo, we did send the email out related to the Commissioners Academy. I'm not sure who all may have responded. I know I saw Miss Wilson's response, but those things fill up pretty quick, so if you do have interest in attending, please let us know as soon as you can.
I highly recommend going. I will not be attending, but if anybody is the slightest bit interested, it's really, really good work for our planning commissioner brings. Seeing no other comments, are there any requests for future agenda items? And we will be ready to close the meeting. Thank you to everyone who took the time to submit their comments and those who are watching our meeting on Zoom or YouTube. There be no further business of the commission. We are now adjourned at 7:04 p.m. on January 25th, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you.